Good morning, people. We are live, and we are gonna continue our journey to get this code base in a state where we can actually start developing things and adding features. Let me just go to screen share, and without any further talk, we will just get our hands dirty and start coding. All right, so this is going to be a little bit tricky, and I need one from each team to code together with me, and it would be good if you guys could share your screen so that if you get into any issues, we can solve them. And once we are done with this setup, you guys will push your code up to GitHub, and we will create a pull request. This means that you need to check out a feature branch to get this this thing correct, basically. So I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to create a new branch by doing git checkout b and naming it something unfuck. Let's call it something else. I was told that I should not use profanity. So
it's too late, Thomas. I already used unfuck, so you better do it too.
Okay, all right, then we do go with unfuck. Right, so I'm checking out an unfuck branch, and that's where we are. And first things first, right? So the first thing we need to do is to clean up the or refactor the file in our config folder called environment RB. Okay, that's definitely the first thing that needs to be taken care of. So just navigate to your config folder and open up the environment.rb file. And there are some things here. Let's see, let me make this a little bigger so we can get this more visible for you guys, like this, right? So we can remove some comments first. And at the top of the file, we want to include the gem file as it is. So that's all good. Then we need to require the bundler setup and store that somewhere. Well, store that information. So that's cool. Then after that, we want to require the gems that we care about. We can remove that comment. We don't need that here. So we require Ruby gems, the URI path name. Need this, but let's keep it around. Of course, Postgres, active record, the logger. We need the Sinatra gem. We need the Sinatra reloader if we are in development. So that's good. We are also requiring ERB. I want us to add a requirement here. So we do require pry. We only want to, we only want to require pry if we are in any other state than production. You know, I mean, we don't want to require pry if we are in production, so we can say unless production. And this method is it's a helper method in Sinatra that tells us what environment we are in at the moment. Okay, so the next thing is that we want to set the uproot constant, and that's going to be the root path to our project. And this is, we are using the path name library. Doesn't really matter what it does. I could go on forever. And then we're gonna give this this application a name and store it in a constant. We will not use this setup that we used initially. So you can remove that, and as a string, you can call this slow food. Or actually, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it needs to be stored in a string. So you can call it slow food Santeric, or whatever you want to call this, right? This will be used to name your database later on, right? So what we want to do here on line 38 this setting needs to be moved, so you can cut it out from here and add it underneath the app name constant, as I did now. And we want to select line 24 through 34 and just delete that totally. We can delete those comments as well. We don't need that. Right. And here, between the require database command and the two lines at the bottom, we want to define a new class. So we just say class, and we're going to call this class Slow Food Application or Slow Food App. And we want to inherit from Sinatra base, like this. That's really important. This means that the slow food application will be a Sinatra application, and get access to all the methods that comes with it. Okay, so now we're gonna do a little bit of setup of this application. So we're gonna do disable. We're gonna disable logger, disable the error dump. Some errors like this. I know I'm not going to go into what that does, but it basically just turns off some output in our terminal. Let me know if I'm going too fast, guys, but I'm trying to take it slow. Just try to keep up, right? We're going to enable sessions. And I will be talking more about sessions later. And then we want to set the session secret. And we're going to set that to either an environmental variable that will be stored on our server called session secret. And environmental variable names are always written like this with hard brackets and a string with or we're gonna set it to a random string, like, you know, you can just choose basically any letters or combination of numbers and letters here. This string will be used to encrypt the session, so it's a one-time encryption. So we will, when we deploy this application to a virtual server, we will set this environmental variable on the server, and if there is nothing there, if this returns nil, then this string will be used. So this will be used in development and test environments, basically. Okay, the next setting we will do is to do method override. And we're going to set it to true. I'm not going to go into what it does. It's necessary. We want to set the root path to this application to the constant that we created on line 17. That is the app root. We want to set the views folder to the app views folder. So we're gonna do file.join. File is a Ruby library to access the file system. So we're gonna tell this setting that we are using the app root, app folder, views, right? Because that's where we're going to have our views stored. As you remember, we have them in this views folder up here, right? So there is a default setting for Sinatra where the views are stored, and we are overriding that by pointing it to that particular folder. We're gonna tell the Sinatra application where the public folder is. And the public folder will be the folder where we will store our JS files, our CSS files, and our JavaScript files. So we can just copy this and make sure that you change the views string to public. And if you take a look at the public folder real quickly, you can see it's right here. It has the CSS image and JS folders in it. So we're going to point to that when we create our layouts, etc. We're also going to add another setting. Oh, sorry, I missed parentheses. Right, there we go. All right, so there's another setting about showing exceptions. And we're going to set it to false for now. This is something we can tweak later. It depends on what sort of errors we are getting when there's an exception thrown at us, basically. So this is the refactoring of the environment.rb that we need to make, and that should fly now, hopefully. Is everybody on board with that now? You guys never shared your screen. I don't know if it would be better for me to see that you are actually doing the same thing that I'm doing.
Well, sure. So you're gonna see both my screens.
You can share just one of them. And who else is coding?
You share it like this.
Well.
Okay, so go ahead and share your screen too, Scott, please. It looks good on Alfred. The only thing I would like you to do is to change those double quotes on line 12 to single quotes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Right, you remove those comments there, Scott.
Yeah, I can.
Good stuff. Now you can remove line 7. We can require faker for now. Yeah, and try on this production. Good stuff. Right. 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 Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Okay, good stuff. Good. All right. Let's move on. So, what else? Well, in order to get this to work, we need to go to the. If you have a controller in your controller folder that is called AUT, right?
Yeah.
Right. So let's go to that controller. And right now we're just listing some methods in that file. What we want to do is to change that and to wrap this around a class definition. And so what we're going to do now is just an easy fix is to define a new class and give it the same name as we did to the class that we defined in the environment RB. So it needs to be called Slow Food App, and you just need to copy all of these routes that you had in it initially and place it inside of that class like this. Good. That should fly now, unless we need to do something else. No, we don't. Okay, that's cool. We need to change our, let's see, if we need to change our spec helper. Could be, let's have a look at the spec helper. So you go to the spec folder and spec helper RB, and we take a look at that. The first things, let's see, the first thing we want to do is to remove the comments and the require Ruby gems setting on top of this file. This line 1 through 7, we can just delete them. And we set the first line that we want to have on top of our file is that the rack env is set to test, basically. And we actually you can remove those double pipes, I think. Let's remove them. So we just set in spec helper, we just set the rack environmental variable to test. Okay, and the second thing we want to do is to require the config environment. It is already done on line 3, but we're going to change that way. So you can select line 3 and remove it and add it like this. So you just require with ./config/environment. Okay. Are we good on that?
I'm typing. Sorry. Config.
Scott, keep on sharing your screen, Scott. It's much better for me. All right.
I think I'm there now.
Okay. Let me just see that. Yes, good. Good. All right. So the next thing we want to do, we just go over those requirements here. So we're requiring CUDA matchers. CUDA matchers is an extension of RSpec that makes our lives a little easier in when we test our units. Then we are requiring rack test. That's perfectly fine. We're requiring Capybara and Capybara RSpec, which is good. We want to require pry. Let's do that. And here we don't have to set any conditions because it's this is only done in test environment. That's good. And we also want to require the database cleaner as we do. That's all good. And then we have an RSpec configure block, and that will set the configuration of the testing framework, and we are including rack test methods, which is good. We can have a new line break here. Before the entire test suite is being run, we are setting up the database cleaner strategy to transaction, and we clean with truncation. I will not go over what that actually does, but the only important thing here is to know is that it wipes clean the entire database in between tests. So that's important. And then we do config around each. We can keep this as it is. Line 19 through 23 is okay. Now we need to add 2 other lines of code. So we make a new line here on after line 23, and we add another configuration. So config.include, and we want to make the CUDA matcher available. So we do CUDA : matchers, and we add active model, and another one matchers, and then with the active. Right. So we make two new helper methods available to us, basically. That's inside of the RSpec configure block. Now that outside of that block, we have a method called app, and in there we're pointing to Sinatra application. Now we can just change that from Sinatra application to Sinatra, to Slow Food app, which is the class that we want to run. So we are lowering the level of abstraction here, but we just want to point to that class that we created in our environment RB to be the one that is going to be run when we run this application, basically. All right, so that's it. We need to go into our rake file just to make sure that everything there is up to speed. And let's see. Where is that? Yes, you need to go to line 50 on your rake file. If you don't have those hard brackets with saying 4.2, you need to add that to line 50. Scott, are you with that? Good stuff. All right. So that's about it. I just wanted to make sure that that is done in the rake file. Let me see if we need to. No, it's all right. Right, that's all good. We probably need to refactor this task with spec, but we can do that later. Okay, so close that for now. And let's see, what else do we need to do at this point? Let me just check my notes from yesterday, because I was actually taking notes while I was doing all of this. Let's see. Right. So that should do it. Let's see if that is actually it. So one way of checking this is, of course, to run. We should be able to run RSpec. That should not do. We don't have any tests yet, but it should not throw us an error. So that's a check. Let's see if that works. You should get 0 examples and 0 failures. Are you getting that, guys?
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
All good. All right. So this is a good time to say git commit. Well, we had no. Just do git status first. See, right. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have to do this. I need to do it. You know, I need to go into my .gitignore file, and just at the bottom of the .gitignore, I need to add this capybara, and then a dash, and then a star, wildcard. Gitignore. Alfred, you're good with that? Scott, did you find that? Yes. Capybara. So we want to exclude all capybara files from our gitignore. Good stuff. All right, so let's go over to our terminal and do git status again. And we have 4. We should have 4 changed files. All good. So I'm just going to go do git ci am refactors and main config file or something. Right. Good. That's all right. So let's move on. Let's just see if we can start this server. So let's do shotgun and pull up our browser somewhere like here, and we just go to localhost for what is it, 9393, right? 9393, yeah. And that should. It gives us a boot error. Okay, so we are having. Did you guys get the boot error as well?
Yeah.
You're on the same page. Scott, are you getting the same error?
No. In my terminal, I have to type rake, right?
No, shotgun.
Shotgun.
And you go to your browser 9393.
93, okay.
Localhost 9393.
I have an error as well.
Okay, and it says that it cannot load Prime, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see why that is. So we go to the config root file, and it says that we are starting the Sinatra application, right, on line 6. Is that so?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we probably need to change that. Well, actually, I know that we need to change that, and we need to change that to what? Anybody?
Slow food app, maybe?
Yes, we need to change that to slow food app. And I would go with saying slow food app. Let's just do slow food app to start with. I'm a little unsure on this. So let's, we need to see if we need to reboot the server. Yes, we need to reboot the server probably. And if that doesn't work, we're going to change, add another tweak to the config row, and it doesn't work. So let's go to the config row again and say run slowfoodapp.new. And before we do that, we're just gonna require. Why can't we require pry? Let's go over to your gem file. And do we? No, we don't have that. Of course. Sorry, my fault. We need to add gem pry. I have that in my notes. I forgot. Pry bug. Right. And now we need to we need to stop the server and we need to run bundle. All right? So in our gem file, we are adding pry bug, stopping the server and running bundle. And once that is done, we're gonna run the shotgun command again.
Computer is slow, Thomas.
Once again?
Your computer is really slow.
I know. Thank you for that. Let's see. So we run shotgun again. We go over to our 9393 localhost, and right. Is that what you guys are seeing?
No, I still get an
I have
error.
that as well. I have the welcome to the.
What error are you getting?
Let's see, require undefined method base for Sinatra module. Maybe I've typed something wrong somewhere.
Let's see. Let's go over to your an environmental.rb file.
Probably must be some.
Oh, base with a capital B, my friend.
What line is it? I don't know what I'm looking.
24.
Oh yeah, cool. Let's do it
Right.
again.
Let's see if that works now.
Yep.
Okay. So we're up and running with the site, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it works.
Good stuff. Right. Now let's stop the server and do a git commit. Fixes, typos, and settings, or whatever we want to type there, right? All right. So we can turn this off. Not interesting anymore. Right. So in our gem file, now we want to go there and we want to do stuff like what? We want to add the cucumber gem. And you remember I had to specify the version. So we need to say gem cucumber and what version we want to use. So I'm going to Slack you guys that so you don't have to stumble on your keyboards, right? And apart from that, we want to add another gem just to have it, and that's going to be called Launchy. It's a Launchy gem. So Launchy is a gem that allows us to start external applications, in this case, a browser from our application. So that's good for us. Right. Everybody on board with that?
Yep.
Think so. Yeah.
So we do bundle because we've added some gems, right? And let's see what we have here in terms of gems. So we have database cleaner, we have shooter matchers, we have rack test, we have RSpec, we have capybara, we have cucumber, and we have launchy. And then in the test development group, we have factory bot, faker, and pry bug. Good. That should do it for us. Right, so let's close this file now, for now. And now we're gonna run a command in our terminal that says cucumber init. Now, is it just init or is it dash dash init? I think it's dash dash. Let's try that. Right. All good?
Seems to be the case, yeah.
Good. Scott, you with us?
Yep. Yep.
All right, good. Okay, so that created the feature folder and the support subfolders and step definition subfolders in that folder, right? So now comes the tricky part, of course, because we need to go into the things file of the of Cucumber. So we go to the support folder and open up the env.rb file, and that is empty right now, right?
Yeah.
No, mine is not empty.
Yours is not empty. Why is it not empty? Let me see that file. Okay, but you had that. Are you on a feature branch? I don't know. Where did you get this from?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so can I see your terminal for a second?
Yeah, I think I have to share that one.
So you're working on master, all right? So I asked you guys to create a feature branch.
Oh, right.
Right. So okay, so that's a little bit of a problem. You need to just quickly do git status for now. All right. Okay. So I want you to just do a git checkout -b and the name of the branch. Like whatever. Right. And now do okay. So go into okay. Right. This is not good because I probably did some stuff yesterday, following along when I coded, and that could actually fuck up certain things. But let's pray for the best now. All right, Alfred, are you on a feature branch?
Yeah, I'm on a feature branch.
On the unfuck branch. All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to kind of mimic some of the stuff in the spec helper. So we can go to the spec helper and we can copy everything from line 1 through 9, okay? And we're going to modify that a little bit, but let's copy that for now, okay? So get that in here. And we can remove line 4.
Hey, Thomas?
Yes, go ahead.
Wait, and should I now erase what I have on my...
Yes, I want you to erase that. And just copy the first 9 lines from the spec helper.
Yep.
Okay, and paste them into your empty, the env.rb file, right? Are we done with that?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have now. Now, this first thing we do on top is we set the rack environment to test. Good. Then we're requiring the main set config file for this application. We can remove the shooter matchers. We don't need that in Cucumber. However, to have rack test, we can open up a new line here, and we can require RSpec because it's good for us, even in Cucumber. We are gonna require capybara, but we're gonna, inside of that string, we're gonna do a slash and say Cucumber. It's a sub module of the capybara library that is required for Cucumber, and consequently we can remove line 7 because we don't need to require capybara for RSpec, of course, right? The next thing is that we want to add. So we add Pride, that's all right, and we want to require the database cleaner, but we want to require it kind of twice. I don't really know why. So we require database cleaner, then we say /cucumber, like this, and we don't make typos. Right. So we require database cleaner cucumber. And then we also want to require launchy. And let me just check that. So we have rack test, we have rspec, we have capybara cucumber. We want to require faker, like this. And we have the database cleaner, pry, launchy, and faker. Good. Okay. Are we good with that?
Yep.
Awesome. Now we're just gonna say we're gonna configure capybara. So capybara.application.app is the slow food app. That's what we're gonna tell capybara basically. Like this, and then we're gonna set up the database cleaner. And I can Slack you that setup. It's not overly complicated, but it's still some stuff that I want you to write. So if you check your channel, you get a little code snippet there. So it's all about adding the settings for database cleaner, the strategy, and then around each scenario, we're cleaning the database basically. So we're achieving the same effect that we have in rspec, meaning that we are purging the database from every instance of every object around the blocks, around the scenarios, so we don't end up with too many objects, and that will allow us to be more in touch and have a control over our database and the state of our database. Okay, so that kind of potentially works, hopefully. Let's just try that by going to our terminal and just typing cucumber and see what happens.
Works for me.
Yeah, so
Good stuff.
Scenario 0 steps, and then
Awesome. So just for the sake of it, because we're almost done with the setup, but just to be thorough, we just want to make a very quick test of this to see if it works for real. And so what I want to do now is to create a test file, just a dummy test file basically, that will just to make sure that it actually works, right? So let's just touch a new file. Let's create a new file in the features folder, feature. But remember that the suffix must be .feature, like this, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to that file, and I will give you that setup. It's not overly complicated, but no need for you guys to type it in. I can just give it to you. Let's see, got that. Something like this. Okay. So I will not give this feature a name, and I will not name the scenario because there is no need to do that. And I have just 3 very simple steps in this feature. Again, this is just to test with if Cucumber is actually working. So yesterday when we were doing this, we had issues with accessing the database. So let's see if that will work for us now. In our terminal, we need to run a few commands before we move on. So we're going to do rake db drop, just for the sake of it. And you can chain those commands, so just follow along with me. We do db :drop, and then we do db :create, and then we do db :migrate, right? All these 3 commands will be executed at once. Are you done with that?
Yep.
All right, let's see what happens. Right, and we migrated. That's good. So now we can just type cucumber. Did it work for you guys?
I think so.
Right. So let's run cucumber, and hopefully now cucumber will give us this output, like those snippets that telling us that they are undefined and help us set them up. Is that so?
Yeah, I have that.
All right. So we touch a new file in the features folder in step definitions, right? And we're just gonna call it basic steps.rb, like this. And now we just go to our that file and open it up, and we just paste those things in those snippets into that file. You saw me do this yesterday, so hopefully that is pretty straightforward for you. Let's run cucumber again. I just want to see that happening. Right, and now we are getting some notifications that there is nothing happening in those step definitions, right? So what I'm gonna do now, just to showcase, I'm gonna write those step definitions together with you. So follow along. It's always good to practice to write some code. So the first thing I want to do is to change the variable name that the regex will use to store some stuff, in this case 5, to count or something, and then we just do count to an integer, right? And dot times, that's an iterator or a loop, and do if your IDE doesn't add the end when you do a do block, automatically make sure that you add it manually, right? So now we just do user create and name with we wanted to use faker for that, right? So we do faker dot name like this, and we're gonna set the password to something whatever works, right? Like this, right? So this is supposed to create five users, or as many users as we want to create, right? So in the next step, we're gonna use a capybara helper command saying visit, and we're gonna do /users. So that's gonna be a path that we want to have our virtual browser to render for us. And here in the last step, we're going to do an assertion again. So we just do expect page, which is the object that we are getting when Capybara visits a page, to have CSS, and we said that it's going to be wrapped in a div with a class of user, and we want that to happen. We want to assert that it's there for at least well, it should equal to whatever we are asking for. Like, so if I say I should see 5 users, that this div with the user class should be visible on the page 5 times in this case, right? Okay, so let's run this now by saying cucumber. Oh, sorry. Right, and we're still getting some fucking errors. Why would that happen? Why would that happen? It was working yesterday. What the fuck is going on? What is going on? Well, let me just, now you can stop for a second, guys. I don't know, we'll just try to do that. Finding, right. What the fuck? So we just want to do this. It is failed SQL transaction. Current transaction is aborted. Command ignored until end of transaction flow. That's not the error we were getting yesterday. So it's not that. You had a SQL transaction. Oh. Sorry. Right. Okay. It's in my notes actually. Look, guys, what we need to do now is open up your rake file, and what I missed to say is that we have to prepare the test database. So if you look at line 124, you see that there is a command called test on line 21. I mean line 21. So we need to run this command. So we go over to our terminal and we do rake db and :test like this. What? db okay. Right, so let's not do that, but run this command. I'm gonna Slack it to you. Right, so let's run this one. Rake db migrate and then set rack end to test. Right, so that did help us. So now you just do, let me just remove the binding cry. Here, and let's run the cucumber again. Right, so that worked, hopefully. Did it work for you guys?
I still have two skipped instead of two passed.
Let me show me your screen.
Well, it's where's the test file? It says skipped instead of passed for me in the terminal, like you said. That's the only.
Yeah, I need to see your terminal.
Oh, well, I have to reshare my screen.
Right.
Let's see.
And how are you doing, Scott, while he is sharing?
I think I have the right thing.
So is your errors the same thing that my errors? Like you are two greens and one red?
Yeah, one scenario, one failed, 3 steps, one failed, 2 passed.
All right, good stuff. And Alfred is getting failed to skipped. Okay, so let's see up. Could you scroll up more so I can see what's going on? Okay, so undefined method to int, it's to I.
Oh yeah. Let's just try this. All right, now it looks the same, right?
Right, I think so. Right, good. Okay, so what is going on now? So we actually created those 5 users, and we visited this page. It's going green for us, but it shouldn't actually. That's a shortcoming of Capybara, because it's or a shortcoming of Sinatra. There's no way around this. This will tell us that we are hitting the route, but since we know for a fact that there is no such route, so that's just simply not possible, you know. So in this case, the only thing that we can go for is that if I expect to see something on the page and I'm not seeing it, then that's a problem, basically, right? So, and in this case, we are not rendering a page, and there is no user information displayed on that page yet. So let's try to fix that. The first thing we need to do is to go into in any of the controllers this one, for instance, the AUT extension of the slow food application, and we want to say get /users, right? Because that's what we want to render. And again, in this case, we want to fetch all the users from the database. And you've probably seen me do this yesterday, so some of you will recognize those commands. We're going to create an instance variable and call that users, and we're going to set the value of that instance variable to user.all, a command an active record command to tap into the database and get the entire collection of users, right? And then once we've done it, we want to render a file called users index, right? We don't have that file yet, so we need to create that, of course, and we will do that where, Scott or anybody or Alfred?
In the views folder. Yeah.
Once again, Scott?
In the views folder.
Right. So we go to the views folder, and we can try by doing that. We can do that in the terminal. So we could do touch views, and we're going to call it user x.erb. That's enough. We don't have to give it the HTML extension. So let's do that. And we open that view up in our editor, and here we can inject some Ruby. So we're gonna do users, which is the instance variable that we created on that route, right? So it's made available to our ERB file, and we're gonna iterate over it. And we're going to store each instance in a user variable. So you see here we have users as the variable name, they in plural, and then of course when we iterate over it, we set a singular name on it, right? So this is the block. So inside of that block, we're going to create a div and give it a class of user, right? Because that's what we are testing for. So that's what we do. And inside of that div, we want to inject some more Ruby, but this time around will be actually displayed on our view, and we are just going to do user.name like this, right? We could display more attributes if we had, but what will happen in this case that if there are 5 users, like in our test case, there are 5 users. So this .each method will iterate through the entire collection as many times as there are users or instances in it. Store each instance in the user variable, and if there is a name attribute on that object, it will be displayed. Otherwise, an error will be rendered, right? So this is pretty straightforward, I think. Let's see what happens. Let's run our test again. Like this. Right. Users index ERB. What did I do? Oh, I call it user. I call it user index, and it should be named users index. So we just, in RubyMy, I can just refactor this, rename, and I just do users index like this. We refactor. Boom. Typos, people. It's your worst enemy. Let's see. Let's run the command again.
Looks better.
And we're going green. Awesome.
Okay.
Now,
I still have one scenario, one failed.
And which one is failing for you?
Then I should see 5 users.
You have to share your screen.
Yeah,
your terminal.
Yeah.
So it's much better if you guys share the entire screen rather than a window actually when you screen share. And that goes for pair programming as well, to be honest. So expected to find that, but it didn't. Why not? So let's see your step definition. Let's go to your step definition file, Scott.
Yep.
Give user count to I. Fake a password. Right. User create fake password. Name. It looks good to me. Let's set on line after line 4. Let's set a binding pri there and run the scenario.
Wait, just cucumber?
Yeah. So what happens now is that we have to debug why this is not showing. It looks good to me. I don't know if we made some typo. So now we've created those users. So let's just do user.count with a capital U. Right, you have 5 users. That's good. So just type quit on this and go to your controller now. Now you can remove that binding pri from line 5. Go to the controller where you created the route. Users. All right. Users index. Right. So just set a binding pri after line 15 before the ERB. Right, and just do @users just to see the collection. All right, that is okay. So just press the Q character and just say quit on this one. So now we know that the users have been created and that the collection actually has something. So now just remove that binding pri and let's go to your view template and see what's up. And your users each do user class user.name, and it looks good to me. I can't see any typos here. User.name. Okay. That's weird. Okay, so in that case, I want you to go, let's focus on my screen for a while and follow along with me. I would like you to go to the feature file, and after line 4, you just go then show me the page. So we're gonna do some manual debugging and use the the Launchy gem, and in your you're gonna have to run this to get the snippet. I can do something like this. Right, and are you on board with that?
No.
No, you have to run Cucumber and get this yellow snippet and paste it into your basic steps file. So if you run Cucumber and just get this thing, then show me the page there. Right, awesome. Okay, and here you type a capybara command that is goes like this: save and open page. Okay. All right. So now if you go and run this again in your terminal. Right. So you are seeing those things. So there's something wrong here. The fuck? We see them, right? Mm-hmm. So why is this failing? Go into your div.users count to I. That's okay. So go to your template again.
Where?
the ERB file, div class user. Class user. That's so weird. Why would this fail? Does anybody spot this? Why would this fail? It is up. It is okay. So you know what? Go back to that browser that was popping up there, and right-click on those names, and inspect that. Right. Div class user. Div class user. It is definitely what we are looking for. Duh. Okay, go back to the step definition again. Oh, look, on line 12, you're saying dot users, but you're supposed to say dot user.
Oh.
There we go. It was a typo. All right, let's run it again. Those things can drive you crazy sometimes. Yeah. You understand, guys? Right. Okay, good. So now remove that. Show me the. Don't remove the step definition, but just remove the from your feature file.
Is it here? This whole thing?
No. This is the step definition. So you can keep it around. It might prove useful later on. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You go there and just remove line 5. Right. Okay. So time to commit and push. Git status. Right. Git add. We have to add new files and just do git ci am sets up cucumber and adds dummy feature test. Right. Right, and now we just do git push origin on fuck in this case. Right. What I want you guys to do now is to follow along a little bit. We want you to go to your GitHub repository, see something. Well, go to the Craft Academy organization, and you know the repository that you are working with for your team. Right, and you see that Scotty pushed up something called features. And Alfred, I want you to share the entire screen so I can see what's going on, so I can see your browser as well. And in my case, that branch was called unfuck. So now I want to click this compare and pull request. And perhaps we don't have to call it unfuck. We can call it something else, like refactors. Oh, adds working configuration for testing frameworks, right? And here we can use markdown saying adds our refactors the main app config, and we can use markdown. So we say something like app config and RB. Use those backticks, and when you type stuff in your descriptions, you can always preview them. You understand? So if you're not sure if your markdown is fine, and the next step is adds cucumber and refactors rspec config. Right, and we did something else probably, but yeah, well, adds basic scenario to make sure cucumber is working. Right, and something like this, right? Basic scenario. Okay, a basic scenario, whatever. And it says it can't automatically merge on me. I don't know what happens with you guys, but I'm getting an error here. But it doesn't matter because I can still create the pull request and deal with those settings later. So we're just gonna create that pull request. How is that working out for you, guys?
I think it says that it can merge.
Good.
So it could
Do not merge
merge
anything yet, though.
No, I haven't.
That's good. Good stuff. All right. In my case, it was something weird. So I have a conflict in my gem file. So GitHub is really nice to us and tells us what's wrong. I can do two things. I can resolve those conflicts by pulling down code from master and fix that on my local machine. But if the conflicts are not overly complicated, GitHub allows us to fix them in their interface. So that's a good thing. So we just go to resolve conflict and yada, yada, no drama. There is some stuff on the unfuck branch and something that was conflicting on the master branch. And we're just going to do something like this, basically. Just remove that. That was a very uncomplicated conflict. There is no drama here. So let's just resolve that and commit that merge. Now the thing is that I am one commit ahead than my local machine, so I need to go to my and do a git pull from origin unfuck, right? Because there is a difference here between the master and or the remote unfuck branch and my local unfuck branch. You had a question, Alfred?
Yeah. Did you want us to merge it now, or?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Take it easy. Thank you. Right. So now I just want to, before we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna test an RSpec test just to make sure that RSpec works. But I also want to showcase that if you create a pull request and then and after that you push up to your own branch, the pull request will be automatically updated. All right, and that's very important for you guys to know. And also, before we merge, I'm going to do a special type of merge and explain to you guys why we're doing that and what consequences that has for your workflow. Okay, so in my let's see, let's just get the hell out of Dodge here, and in my spec folder, I want to create a new file that is called user spec. So we can go over to our terminal and just do touch spec, and they say user._spec.rb, right? And in that file, we are gonna do what? We go to that file, we open it up, and we need to require spec helper. I think. See if we have to do that. So just stay with me. Right, we need to require spec helper. We do that, and now we're gonna write some RSpec tests for our user class, and it's basically the same thing that you did in the ATM challenge or your library challenge when you were testing your Ruby classes with RSpec, because it is everything that we do are Ruby classes. The user is a Ruby class, even though it's extended with active record functionality. So what we need to do now is just to have a describe block, and we're gonna test the user class. So we just put that constant down. We do a do, and of course an end to it, and we had a validation on the user, right? I think we have a validation. We don't have that validation yet, so that's good because we can test drive this now. We have let's say that we have an idea that this user is not valid. User is not valid. Not valid without a name, right? Right? So that's a test case, definitely. So we can do something like expect user.create and just pass in a password, because we do not pass in a name, right? And if we do that, that should be to not, and we can use a matcher from RSpec that is simply be valid, right? So expect user create with a password to not be valid. All right. So let's see if we can run that. So we go to our terminal and we do RSpec and we say spec and user spec.rb like this. Okay. And we run that. And that should give us an error, hopefully. Okay, your Ruby version is 2. Okay, so I have to switch Rubies. I don't know if you guys need to do that. Use 2.2.4.1. So I probably need to bundle again. Oh no, sorry. I don't have that Ruby. Wow. RVM install 2.4.1. So in the meantime, what happened for you guys when did you run this this spec?
I got one example, one failure.
Yeah,
Right. And what's the error message?
Expect, to not be valid. Expected. Yeah, I just got a name nil instead of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what we want to do in this case, and you got the same, Scott, right?
Yeah, I got the same.
Yeah. So this is an example of us, like, we have an idea that, hey, if I tried this should not work, right? But it actually works. So we're you know, our assertion is that this should not be possible to do, but it is possible to do. Do you understand that?
Yep,
Yeah.
I understand.
Right. Okay, so what can we do to make that impossible?
Add as a username or something.
Right. We need to make sure that the user class always needs a name, right? So we do that in our class definition for the user, and we use this validates name presence true, right? This is a active record command that will make sure that before the object is being saved or when it's being created, it will make sure that the name is there. It must be there, basically. So let's try that. Let's do that, and let's run RSpec. I cannot do it because I'm still installing my Ruby.
I'm all green, boy.
And you're all green. And Scott is also green. All right, good. Okay, so let's just, while I'm still installing this stuff, let's go over to our user spec and create another block saying we can copy the first one and paste it below, and it's not valid without a password, right? Right. So we actually give him a name, right? But we don't pass in a password. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and run that spec now.
Green.
Good stuff. And Scotty? Also green. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna do a one-liner, just so we get to a little sense of the Schudermacher's gem. Okay. So what I want you to do first is to go to the spec helper and comment out line 25 and 26, okay? Like this. We done?
Yeah.
Good. And then I want you to go back to the spec, to the user spec, and I want you to type something like this. Let me just check my notes so I'm not, yeah. So we're gonna nest a new describe block here. Describe, and we're gonna talk about the database table. So we're gonna do something, some tests that will check if the database is formatted the way we want it to be formatted, right? So we know that we have two attributes on that database, and what attributes are that? What tables are that? On the users table, the columns.
The name and password.
Name and what?
The name and password.
Nope. Name yes, password no. The name of the table is password digest, right?
Right, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So we're gonna write two one-liners. We're gonna say it and two curly brackets for a block, and now we're gonna do is underscore expected, right? .2, and we're gonna use matcher called have db column, right? And we're gonna pass in name. That's what we want to have, right? And we are gonna copy this one and change the name to password, right? Okay, and now let's run this. Am I done with? Oh, it's still installing. Okay, so you guys run.
It's failing.
And how is it failing?
To have DB column name, expected user to respond to has DB column. I don't know.
Yes, yes. And the problem here is that you remember we spoke about those predicate matchers. Like if you have a method, you know, has, then you rspec translate that to have stuff, you know, so you could you get dynamic matchers. The problem here is that we don't have those kind of columns, and this matcher have DB column is a shoulda matcher command, or a shoulda matcher basically. Well, that sounds but anyway, so what I want you to do is to go to your spec helper and uncomment those two lines, 25 and 26. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you run this test again. Okay.
Now it's green.
Now it's great. All right. So now we tested whether whether the database table is actually containing the stuff that we want. There's another thing we can do. That active record automatically adds another column to our table, and that is the ID column, right? That is the unique identifier. So
Yeah,
just add that and run that test.
Yeah, works.
Works fine. Okay. So let's just finally go over and check extra stuff that we can do. Let me see. Where's my browser? There it is. There we are. That's totally fine not to drum. Yeah, I really would like not to drum. Anyway, so there are some other stuff that we can do here. What we use now is this have DB column, right? We can test for belong to, define enum for, serialize, validate uniqueness of, and stuff. So, but we know that we are validating the presence of name, right? So let's see if this method could be interested. So let's just copy this, right? And just follow along with me. Describe database table. I would say describe validations, validation, and do, and just paste this, and we validate the presence of name, right? Right. And remember that if you paste stuff from the internet, sometimes you get shit, right? That's the way it is. You see, here they are using the should syntax, which is an old version of is expected to. So it would probably work, but it's better for us to use this one. So it is expected to validate presence of name. Almost English-like, right, people? Yes. So let's see if you guys can run it.
Yeah.
Right? Good. And Scott?
Yep. Also green.
Awesome. Right. So, you know, guys, these tests won't write themselves. So it's important for you, of course, to stay on top of things. What should I test for? You know, what is interesting, what is not, right? And make sure that your tests reflects that. If you take a look at line 20 now, this expect validate presence of name, it is exactly the same test that we wrote here on line 5 to 7, right? It tests this, the same behavior, but it does it slightly different. What I would say that by having this line, this test on line 20, you make this test redundant, so it's safe to remove that. It's not interesting, right? However, like if we would do it that it expect that the classes expect to validate the presence of password, right? That would probably be more tricky. Let's try that. I haven't tried it myself. Could you guys try it?
Yeah, I'm gonna copy that.
Right, sure. And just change.
It works for me.
It works for you. Okay, good. Then it's supposed to validate that, which means automatically that that the test on line 5 through 6 now is also redundant. We don't need that anymore, right? So with should matchers, we get to test in a much shorter and nicer way, basically. All right. Okay. So this pretty much concludes this part of the presentation. There will be yet another demo where we'll be adding some dishes or some restaurants or a restaurant or something. Where I haven't decided yet to this application, but at this point, just make sure to commit and push this up to your GitHub repository. I would like you to, once you've done it, I would like you to head over to that pull request and see what's up, basically. Right. So I would say adds RSpec test for user class or something, you know, as a commit message. Right. So in the meantime, while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to go over to the Craft Academy thingy and go to the Sankt Erik thing. And I'm going to check out the pull request. I don't see a pull request open here. Why not?
Wait, hold on. Wait, is it a problem that before this vaccine already merged? Or did I just merge again?
What did you merge, Scott?
No, I mean, like, before all this, like, RSpec stuff, I kind of did merge by accident.
Scott, you don't do accidents. I don't resonate well with accidents, please. It's really important. I kept talking about not merging this stuff, right? And that's one thing. So don't do that, all right? And the second thing is that we never merge our own pull requests, okay? If you create a pull request, somebody else in your team is supposed to merge it. All right. So now you're gonna have to create a new pull request with that extra change. Okay, Scott.
Yep.
All right. Alfred, how are you doing on that? So push that thing up to your repository. Like the last commit, Scott, that you did, you need to push that up. Did you push it?
Yeah.
All right.
The branch name and then.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. So just right. Okay. So just do this in your terminal. Git push origin features. Do colon. Just do git push origin features and just do colon afterwards and just do features without a space. Features 2. Yeah, and push that up. Right, and now you create a pull request from that, okay?
Okay.
Right. And Alfred, how are you doing?
Good, I think.
Good, and that's
Look, staring at the pull request.
Right, so let's check that out. Okay, so the problem with that, you know, with not following my instructions, I'm sorry about that, is that there are stuff that we will miss out on, basically, right? So I want you to pay close attention to what I'm going to do now. So we are checking out the pull request from Alfred, and we see here that there are 8 commits and there are 16 change files, and we can see the commit history, and there is a description. Of course, we would like Alfred to update that description. So you can click on, if you click on that on that pen and add something like I added a basic spec for the user class, you know. Just say that in the last commit you added specs for the user class. Right, and just update that. Good, and it should reflect on my page as well if I reload now. Right. Okay, and now he has 8 commits and such. And the thing is now that when I merge this into the project, I do not want to see all those 8 commits because it will make the commit history very long. So what I'm going to do now, before I hit the green button, I will open up this this pull down menu, and I'm going to choose the squash and merge option. Okay, and I'm going to hit this button like this, and I have to confirm the squash and merge, and now it's being merged basically. And so now if we go to the code of this repository, we see that we have 4 commits, and you can see in the commit history that this is a squashed commit by Alfred, and those commit messages are part of this. This been merged as a single commit, but the commit messages still tags along in the history. Okay, so and we can also see all the changes that was made here, and all the deletions, right? Which is good. And now we have a clean commit history. Unfortunately, with the second team, we will not have that opportunity, hopefully, or perhaps we will. Oh, you also, no, I chose the wrong one, sorry. There we go. Right, so we get those a different commit history here. It's not bad in any way, I'm not saying that, but it's not what we want in the long term. It's better to squash and merge those commits, right? But we have another pull request here, and we can remove that label now because it's not in progress anymore. We can see that there are 3 files changed. We have the validate named presence true here, and we have some specs here, all good. One thing that we will use later on in the course, not this week, is that we will do code reviews. and I can type something like looks good. And I have 3 options. I can approve, I can request changes to a pull request, or just do a basic comment. In this case, I'm going to approve this one, and I submit the review, and I can squash and merge this one. I don't necessarily have to, because it's only one commit, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to squash and merge. Boom, and we're all good. Okay, so what needs to happen now, Scott, is that I want you to check out the master branch. No, actually, I want you to go to your terminal, and I want you to type in git. No, don't check it. Check it out. I want you to do git branch dash capital D with a space, and then space master. Just run that. Right, and now I want you to do git checkout minus dash T. And then you do upstream slash master. Yeah, try that. Okay, that's not gonna fly. Okay, so I want you to go over to the, if you just do git remote dash v, small v, right? Okay, so I want you to go over to GitHub, to the Slow Food Sinatra MVC Sankt Erik, to the code, right? And do clone or download, and just copy that thing, right? And now just do git remote add upstream, and then this URL, just paste it in. Now go ahead, and now you do git fetch upstream, right? And now you do just navigate to that command that we did with checkout minus dash T with your arrows, arrow buttons. There you go. There you go. Okay, so change that dash T to a small t. Right. Okay, and now you do. Now you just do rspec, type rspec, and cucumber. Good. And okay, so let's turn our attention to Alfred. Alfred, in your terminal, switch back to the master branch.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you type rspec now, there shouldn't be any tests. Let's try that.
No.
No, all right. So I want you to do the same. I want you to add the upstream as a remote. So if you were paying attention, you know how to do that.
No, I wasn't. No,
and why not?
Well, I was listening, but I wasn't doing it. I remember.
No, okay. So we want
I thought you were fixing Scott's problem. That's what I thought you were doing, like with the merge, whatever. I didn't know.
No, I was not. I was not doing that. So just do git remote dash v.
Yeah.
Yeah, press enter. Right. So you have to go to your repository on Craft Academy account and copy that URL to that repository.
You mean to the
So you click on the green button.
Yeah, I mean this one, right?
Right. And do git remote add upstream and that URL. Right. And now you do.
Oops. Remote. Europe.
Right. And now do git fetch upstream. Now, and now you just do git pull, and this is important that you guys understand. Pull upstream master. Right. Okay. Right. Okay, so we're gonna do it slightly different now because we don't want you to end up with a bad commit history. So you made changes to the master branch, basically. That's perfectly fine. Just check out the unfuck branch again, and now do git branch dash capital D master. So we are deleting your local master branch with this command.
Cannot delete branch master.
Okay, so do git stash.
I don't know what that is.
Git, okay, do git status. Okay, just do git add dot git commit, whatever commit message. We're gonna delete that anyway, so. Right. Now, yeah, okay, you don't have to type everything. All right. So, and now you check out the unfuck branch. And now you do git, now you remove that master branch with git branch dash D dash not underscore the master. Git checkout dash T upstream slash master.
Slash master.
Right. All right, and now you do run, just do rspec, run rspec now. And cucumber. Okay, so people, so here it is. Like from now on, you do not work on the master branch. Okay? Can I get a verbal confirmation?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We always switch over to a feature branch. That is extremely important. All right. And also, when you're finished with something, or from time to time, you have to do git pull upstream master. So if you don't have the upstream as a remote, as we just did for Scott and for Alfred, you have to go to the repository, copy that URL, and in your project folder, you have to do git remote add upstream and that URL. You have to do git fetch upstream after that. Okay, git fetch command is fetching the metadata about the branches on a remote server or a remote repository, and then you will push and pull from that stuff. But you never work on that master branch. Okay, you work on feature branches.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you do, you will end up in a situation that we were just in with Scott and with Alfred, where we have to delete your master branch and then check it out again from upstream, and that's just tedious to do. And because otherwise you will get a different commit history and you will not be able to work with your teammates. So collaborating with using GitHub and Git as a version control system requires a lot of discipline. So you guys do the same thing as your peers in the team. All right.
So basically, every time we start working, we create a new branch.
When you start working on something new, yes.
Okay.
Right. If you have submitted a pull request and that pull request has been merged, you cannot continue on that branch. But listen, this is also important, and take that down as a note. If you are on a feature branch, you finish working on it, right? You submit the pull request, and you want to continue working with something else. You cannot create a new branch from your feature branch. You understand? You have to go back to the master, like, on your feature branch, like Alfred's unfuck. In order to create a new feature branch, he has to first go back to the master and then do a new feature branch. Do you understand? I need to hear if you understand or not, because then I can clarify that again. Okay, so stay with me now. Stay with me, people. So you have a branch that you were working on, like, for instance, unfuck, as we use now, right? And we are done with it. We want to continue to work with something else. right? So we need another feature branch, right?
Yes.
Yes. In order to do that, you cannot create a new feature branch from the unfuck branch. That's not going to fly because you're going to fuck up the commit history. You have to go back to the master branch first and then create a new feature branch from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, if I need to work over it, then I had to wait for you.
Okay, I don't hear anything. There's an echo, so we have to mute somebody in order to get this going. Right, go ahead.
Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I get it. But so I need to create a new feature. But like then, if I want, to, I pull create a pull request to you. You check what's going on, and then basically, if I want to work over like what I already did, I had to wait for you to merge it to the master, and then when you're done, I can go on.
I don't really understand the question. You mean like keep on working on the same thing, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, let's say I create a new feature called Thomas, okay, and I do a bunch of stuff, and then for the day I'm done, and I create a pull request to you, and so you can check what's going on.
Yes.
And then the day after, I want to, starting from Thomas, go over it. Like let's say I created these two specs, they are fine, let's say, and I want to create a third one, but basically I want to, start again from.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, your question is like, if you submit a pull request and we have some comments and we want you to change something in that particular pull request, is that what you're asking?
No, I mean it's already the step after. Like
okay, so if that gets merged, so let me just clarify that again. It's okay that you asked that question. If your Thomas branch get merged, you cannot continue to work on that branch. You have to go back to master. Okay. And since the standing order is that you cannot work on master, it means that if you want to work on something else, you need to create a new feature branch from master. You always, when you create new feature branches, it's always from master, at least in this project, okay? In the next project, it will actually be another branch, but that comes later. For now, master is your point of origin, always, okay? And now I've said it 5 times, and I can keep on saying that, but that's really, really, really important. And I will not be upset with you guys if you fuck it up, because I know you will. But remember that I've said it now, and it's really important, okay? We do not create new feature branches out of other feature branches, and we do not work on master. Okay? Are we cool with that?
Yeah.
Right, I see thumbs up, and good. I see both Sophie and Oliver are the blue men today, so I can't see any.
I say yes.
Good. You said yes. Oliver, are you with that on this one?
Of course.
Of course. Good. Right. So let's we had this idea about the fuck up of the week. All right. So the first one who fucks this up is gonna talk about that in the fuck up of the week section of the Friday Scrum or Retro. All right. Good stuff. Right. That pretty much concludes this overdue demo, and we have those pull requests merged, meaning that all of you are gonna go to your master branches. You're gonna add the upstream as a remote, and you're gonna fetch upstream, git fetch upstream, and finally do git pull upstream master. So you get the code that Scott and Alfred so courageously worked on until got merged into the code base. Okay? So there are 3 things: check out master, add and fetch the upstream as a remote, and pull from master. All right? And I desperately need a cigarette and a coffee now. And I think so do you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy, guys. We fixed it. Good job, everybody. And big applause to Scott and Alfred. All right.
Good job, Scott and Alfred.
All right. Cheers.